When we got the notice from the judge that there was an order, the judge said that there were two documents. One would be completely under seal, so not public, and the second would be public but with these heavy redactions. If you actually look at the dates in the public document with redactions, what you see is everything is in this post-election period, post-administration period, post-guilty plea from Manafort. So largely 2018 allegations of witness tampering, as well as contact with the administration, sometimes directly or through a third party, which they say violated the agreement. I think it's worth considering whether the document that is under seal actually relates to what I would call the core time frame on these allegations of collusion, which is the campaign period and then this transition period. I know through my own reporting that the special counsel had been pressing Paul Manafort very hard on the Trump Tower meeting in June of 2016. You recall the Russians tried to get the meeting, offering sort of dirt on Hillary Clinton, but the real objective was to try and get these sanctions repealed, the Magnitsky Act. And even if you recall, Jared Kushner, I believe, testified that he had his assistant send an email to him so he'd have an excuse to get out of the meeting. He felt it was such a wash. And my contacts also report that Manafort has been heavily pressured on the WikiLeaks issue. Their argument is that their client has not lied and that the special counsel is seeking information either that he does not have or they do not believe exists. So the public hearing shortly, I think later this month or in January, will allow both sides to make the argument as to whether Manafort has broken the agreement or whether the special counsel, as other witnesses have alleged, have been using strong-arm tactics to obtain information that they don't have or they say is false information they simply will not provide, Brett.
Okay, Catherine, thank you. Looking at these documents, Jonathan Turley, there's this one section on page 9 when it comes to Manafort that they suggest that he has lied about his contacts with the administration. Catherine referenced it there, but it says the evidence demonstrates that Manafort had contacts with the administration, a text exchange in May, authorizes a person to speak with an administration official on his behalf. Separately, according to another Manafort colleague, Manafort said in February 2018 that Manafort had been in communication with a senior administration official. February 2018. Up through February 2018. A review of documents recovered from a search of Manafort's electronic documents demonstrates additional contacts with administration officials. So they say they have the juice to
yeah, and
he made the contact.
Much of the Manafort material should not really present a threat to the White House. I mean, look, Manafort was like a perpetual motion machine of criminal conduct. I mean, he was committing crimes all over the globe. And a lot of this goes to those transactions, those dealings totally unrelated to the Trump campaign or the White House. It's that section that you just referenced, which is a serious problem. We already know that there is this defense agreement that existed and was continued to be used between Manafort and the White House after his plea. That's exceptionally rare. I mean,
of course, he had one too, or has one.
That's right. But Manafort was a cooperating witness meeting with prosecutors, and according to reports, his counsel was relaying what the prosecutors were asking him about. Now, this goes one step further, and this is suggesting direct contacts approved by Manafort to speak with members of the administration. This is where it gets sporty if you dig deeper. That is, Mueller could be trying to develop a serious obstruction case here. Manafort was a cooperating witness with the special counsel. If there was any agreements going back and forth about his curtailing information, withholding information, that would be on all fours an obstruction case. That would be, no one would doubt that as a definition. Now, here's the problem. There's a crime-fraud exception to privilege arguments. If Mueller argues that what they were doing was using that defense agreement or other types of communications to undermine his investigation, a judge could strip them of privilege, and you could have a bunch of attorneys being put on the stand.